Welcome to Real Estate Radio Power Investing, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate investing. Your host, Tom K. Wilson, provides you with insight and guidance from his years of experience as a successful real estate entrepreneur on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate, and much more. Now, here's your host for Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Thanks for tuning back in to our Real Estate Radio Power Investing program, where we empower you with the education to maximize your investing success. We're broadcasting from the number one business radio station in the San Francisco Bay Area, KDOW AM 1220, the Wall Street Business Network. And I'm Tom K. Wilson, your host for the weekly program on real estate investing. If you can't make the live show, you can catch our podcast on TomWilsonProperties.com or on iTunes or on YouTube. You can also go to TomWilsonProperties.com to sign up for our newsletter that gives you weekly input on what's going on in the world of economics as it relates to real estate. And we like promoting and supporting financial education in general that helps make you a better investor. Also, by signing up, you will be part of our client base, which allows you to have access of our commercial and multifamily syndications that you can buy shares of for typically $50,000 a share. Also turnkey houses, most of which are in our favorite state of Texas for as far as the state of investing. Thank you for all your questions and requests for future guests and subjects to talk about, and we are glad to provide free consultation at any time. With us today is Robert Kiyosaki, the individual real estate investor's rock star. Robert is an accomplished investor, speaker, financial educator, and the all-time best-selling author of Rich Dad series of books, including Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Had the pleasure of meeting Robert in 2004 at a Rich Dad Expo in San Francisco. I got to speak at one of his breakout sessions, and since then I've had the pleasure of being with him a number of times at the Summit at Sea that Real Estate Guys sponsor, the least of which is the most recent one here in April of 2017 when we're recording this. And I've been able to meet many of his wonderful advisors, Kenny McElroy, Garrett Sutton, Andy Tanner, Tom Wheelwright, and others on that cruise that we've and summit that we get to talk to and share notes and learn from each other, like Peter Schiff, Tommy Hopkins, Ed Griffin, and also Robert's wonderful wife, Kim, herself a great educator, investor, and author. I've been a longtime fan of Robert because he's always been a consistent fundamentalist teacher, and there's so many of the gurus out there are only my gimmick works guy, and Robert sticks to the fundamentals, and I think that's why his Rich Dad, Poor Dad struck a chord. He's the founder of Rich Dad Company, a prominent education company that provides personal, financial, and business education to people through his books and seminars and educational products all over the world. He wrote Rich Dad series and 15 different books. 3 of his books were on the top 10 bestseller list at the same time. Well, Robert, welcome back to the program. That was a fabulous celebration at the summit that we're on. It was Robert's birthday. Robert and I are just a few months apart in age. It was the 20th anniversary of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. For those of you who have read that and it affected your life, you may be shocked to find it's been 20 years. I'm sure it's hard for you to get your head around that it's been 20 years, Robert.
It's amazing, Tom. And we always get to meet you on the Real Estate Guys Investor Cruise, which is a very important educational immersion event. And I want to give a compliment or a handout to Tom. Is all the years I've known Tom, he's always been a perfect gentleman, something I am not. So anyway, Tom, congratulations on being a gentleman, because as we're talking while we're off air, the Real Estate Guys are one of the few guys that let me just be who I really am, which begins with an A. But I do my best because I think people are a little bit too complacent about their financial education, who they take financial advice from, but more importantly, what's going on in the real world economy. And that's why, I love talking to you. I love talking to the real estate guys and their cruises, because it's really time to get real, not this fake news stuff. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Robert, so much for those gracious words. On the cruise you had with you, and his name slips my mind, the guy that bought your first 1,000 copies of the book?
Yeah, Dr. Tom Burns. He
yes.
Like the real estate guy's cruise was magical because I printed 1,000 copies of Rich Dad Poor Dad 20 years ago on my birthday, April 8th, and I never thought they would sell. So I just let them go. And on the cruise, the person, Dr. Tom Burns from Austin, Texas, I believe Austin.
Yes.
He bought the very first book. So I'm going to trade him a first edition copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad for my latest first edition book coming out called Why the Rich Are Getting Richer. But the reason that's so important is because I collect first edition books. I didn't collect one of mine.
Well, you didn't think it was going to be that valuable, right?
No, because everybody told me, you don't know what you're talking about. Your house is not an asset. Savers are losers. The rich don't work for money. I was saying things that in 1997 weren't true because if you remember, Tom, back in 1997, The Millionaire Next Door was the top-selling book.
Yep.
And it was about how all you had to do was go to college, drive a Toyota, invest in a 401k. And, The Millionaire Next Door is now the foreclosure next door because the millionaire next door is a good guy, but he didn't see the turn in the road. He didn't see the crash coming in 2005 and 7.
Yeah, looking like you're wealthy has nothing to do with having the financial education to really be wealthy, does it?
That's not financial education. You're just a lamb to slaughter. You're being told what to do. Here, buy a house, put your money in a 401k or an ETF, save money, get out of debt, and give your money to Wall Street for the long term. Why don't you just go, bah, and then they cut your head off? That's what happened.
Well, the breadth and depth of the audience certainly went way beyond that 1,000 books, and it must be very humbling to know you've reached that message that you put out has reached so many people, not just a quantity, but it's been read internationally quite a bit, hasn't it?
Well, what happened in 1997, I had to self-publish it because, like I said, every publisher said they didn't know what I was talking about. And the reason the publishers say that is they're like my poor dad, academic PhDs with no of money, and I like Obama and Hillary.
Right.
But I'm not a Republican or Democrat. But anyway, so they said I didn't know what I was talking about, but in 2000 or 3 years later, Oprah called. And I went on Oprah, and suddenly, I'm an overnight success at 50-something years old. But the world's changing, and she agrees with me. We need financial education, not the garbage they teach in school. And my friend Donald Trump agreed with me, so we've written 2 books together. We've shared the stage all over the world talking about, more than real estate, about the importance of what financial education really is. And this stuff they're teaching, these financial planners are teaching, is not financial education. It's financial manipulation. Mm-hmm. They're leading little lambs to slaughter.
Well, what I've noticed over the years is that you've kind of migrated from, in the early days, you certainly put out a lot of paradigm shifters in the original book, but you were still talking a lot, and you still do. You and I both love real estate investing. But the last 10 years, it appears to me that your focus and mine too has gone broader to try to understand the financial systems, and not that we can change it, but that we can understand it better and know how to make defensive moves and how to take advantage of it.
Now, all you have to know is the financial system is manipulated. It's corrupt. And, how else can, Goldman Sachs just cruise into Venezuela to buy their bonds? I'm going,
yep.
Well, that's a smart move. And anytime one of these is a new little children's company that's collapsing, and the private equity guys are just circling like sharks circling a dying whale or something,
Mm-hmm.
And people just don't understand the game of money because they went to school, they got a job, they work hard, they save money, they buy a house, they get out of debt, and they turn their money over to a financial planner through an IRA or 401k and some garbage like that. Now, that's okay if you're middle class, but my concern, and I think you've heard me over the years, those guys are going to get slaughtered in the next few years.
Yep.
If you're an old guy with money in a 401k, odds are you're going to lose it when the market crashes.
So you're not only still teaching, but you're still writing more books to reach a wider audience. Tell us about your new book, Why the Rich Are Getting Richer.
Well, I hate to say this, but Why the Rich Are Getting Richer is for a narrower audience. And that's suicide for a populist writer like me. But Rich Dad, Poor Dad was elementary school, and Why the Rich Are Getting Richer is graduate school.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the reason why I say it's a narrower market is because you have to be a real estate guy to understand it. Why the rich are getting richer is simply because they use debt and they don't pay taxes. I use debt and I don't pay taxes. So when the markets crashed in 2008, I thought I died and went to heaven because, as you know, interest rates kept coming down. And today, for the first time in history, I believe, there's negative interest rates all over the world. And very foolish people are still being lambs to slaughter, saving money. Why would you save money when interest rates in the States you can get maybe 2% and inflation's running at 5%? That's a negative 3%, and the federal government continues to print money. Now, if they stop printing money, which they might, the stock market crashes. So all you guys in 401ks get hammered. So that's why I write and speak and talk and cajole and be obnoxious. But that's why the rich are getting richer, is they don't listen to their financial planners, because financial planners are salespeople. They're not rich people. They're not bad people. They're just salespeople. Like used car salesmen.
Yep, and they financial planners need to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We're talking to Robert Kiyosaki, a longtime investor, author, and educator in the world of not just real estate, but in the world of financial education. He's a very big proponent. It's great to have him back on the program. When he comes back, we're going to talk more about Why the Rich Are Getting Richer, and also his other new book, More Important Than Money. So stay with us here on Real Estate Radio Power Investing, KDOW 1220 AM, the Wall Street Business Network. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
It's a pleasure having back Robert Kiyosaki, a author of the biggest financial selling book of all time, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and many other books. And we're talking about a couple of his new books, Why the Rich Getting Richer, and we're going to talk about More Important Than Money. Any other comments you want to make about your new book, Rich Are Getting Richer? And it comes out in what, July?
No, it should be out pretty soon, a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah, went on Amazon. It wasn't released quite yet. But.
No. I mean, it's the longest book I've ever had to write because I kept rewriting it. It just kept changing because, every time I go and I talk to a group, I find out how much people did not know, and I had to keep dumbing the book down. But as I said, Why the Rich Are Getting Richer, kind of a suicide mission, because really only real estate guys can do what Why the Rich Are Getting Richer talks about.
Mm-hmm.
See, if you're a stock guy, you can't do what I do.
Right.
Or you do.
Yep.
See, I use debt. Why the Rich Are Getting Richer is I use debt. Debt at 2% is pretty nice. It's just wonderful stuff. So I borrowed $300 million since 2008. And at the same time, the more debt I have, the less tax I pay. So I pay almost zero taxes most of the time.
I guess Susie Orman doesn't understand that. Huh?
Yeah, so that's why The Rich Are Getting Richer is a very important book, especially for your audience who are already proactive in real estate. If you're a 401k guy, it can't help you.
Right.
I can pray for you, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's good. By speaking of long books, your Second Chance was a pretty long book for you, right?
Yeah, because that's I'm more interested, as you know, in the big picture, what's really going on in the world. And most people are only looking at the small picture. The stock price went up, stock price went down, gold went up, gold went down. But they don't understand what's going on.
The big picture. They're into the minutia, right?
Correct. And like I was talking to a young woman in our company today. She says, all we're cared about is the environment. I said, well, that's wonderful, but, and they don't like Trump, so okay. And they love Elon Musk. And I said, why? Because of the environment. I said, well, Elon Musk got $50-something billion tax-free money from the government. To me, that's more interesting. I said, no, he's for the environment. And as you know, I'm into tax-free money from the government as much as I can get. That's why the rich are getting richer is about.
Yeah, it's Elon, I think, is you can tell he is really smart because he's figured out how to get money to leverage things.
But he sucks in all these
wannabes,
environmentalists, and batteries pollute just as much and longer as fossil fuels. And it's really not fossil fuels. Our oceans are warming up, and it's going to take 100 years. If we stop all fossil fuels today, it would take 100 years before the effect of global warming stopped because the oceans take that long to cool down.
Right. It's a pretty big thermal sink, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm very pro-environment, but I don't think investing in Tesla is a good idea right now because they haven't turned a profit yet, but they're just voting on emotions.
Sure.
Look at IBM, look at Apple, all these guys. They're not making any money. The stock price is up. They're going to get hosed. Look at GE. They haven't turned a profit in 20-something years.
Yeah, it's amazing how many companies are still everybody's betting on futures, isn't it?
Well, they're manipulating the game. You know what I mean? As Warren Buffett said, if you're sitting at the poker table and you don't know who the patsy is, you're the patsy.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So
the guy in the 401k and IRA, ETFs and all that, I think they're going to take a pounding in the next 2 to 3 years.
Just give a real short intro here. We got about 30 seconds segment on the other book, More Important Than Money.
More Important Than Money is about my team. In school, if you cooperate, it's called cheating, but in the real world, you have the smartest team possible. So More Important Than Money was written for people who are entrepreneurs and who want to understand what a team can contribute to you. Because the average person thinks they have to be smart, and Tom, you know me, I'm not the brightest candle on match in the box, but I have very smart teams. So more important than money, you get to meet my team.
Boy, and I've learned an awful lot from your teams too. It's been nice of you to share them with us. Robert Kiyosaki on the show today. We'll be back in a moment. Talk a little bit about more about his that book that he's about to release here on the Real Estate Radio Power Investing Program.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Robert Kiyosaki with us today talking about his new books right now, Why the Rich Are Getting Richer, coming out in July, and More Important Than Money, I think also coming out in July. And Robert just keeps teaching. Clearly his biggest passion now is to spread financial education to as many people as he can. You know, Robert, in the when I was in high tech, I was very fortunate to have an early mentor who told me that I don't have to know it all. I can I can delegate and go find people who are smarter than I am and leverage off of that. And boy, no matter what you do in life, that sure applies. It's amazing how many people still try to do it on their own.
Well, yeah, and I thank God I was a C student in school because I cheat. I mean, I asked for help, and I still do that in real life. I'm not very good academically or mathematically. You know, I don't know that stuff.
And it's probably
I have very smart accountants and attorneys around me.
It's probably tougher for folks that are really smart, isn't it? Because then they kind of feel like they're supposed to know it all, and that's the toughest. Sometimes that's the toughest time for them to say, "Hey, I can use some help."
Yeah, they can't do that because that might mean they're stupid.
Yep.
And that's really stupid. I mean, I meet so many CEOs and accountants and attorneys who really think they're smart, but I'll compare financials with them all day long.
What else do we learn, and more important than money, than the value in building a team and having great advisors?
Well, it gives you an idea of what to look for. You know what I mean? Because anybody will do if you don't, well, I'm looking for an accountant. Well, anyone will do if you don't know a good one from a bad one. Mm-hmm. So it'll save you a lot of time in what I call interviewing or pre-screening your advisors. You look at Kenny McElroy. I mean, that guy's a genius, he's a genius. Now, as you know, most real estate agents aren't geniuses.
No,
but that's who they got their financial advice from.
And just think of all the people that he's helped be successful because he's so humble and he's so willing to share, just like you have.
Yeah, I have. You've met my team. They're just really smart, very successful. Integrity means they practice what they preach. They practice what they preach.
Not only has it been a pleasure meeting and having time with all of them, but almost all of them have been on the radio program, too. We had Tom Wheelwright recently, and Kenny McElroy was back on.
Yeah, well, let's also mention the real estate guys and their crews, because those guys are a class act.
Yep, they sure are.
They're for real, and that's all I ask for is people who are for real. I really don't like it when I go to some investment event and I get pitched rather than talked.
Yep.
And I get pitched by somebody who doesn't practice what they preach.
Yep. And on this radio program, I've got a business, and I mentioned what it is, but my primary intent is for people to learn and bring on folks who are experts in their fields and that folks can learn from. It's
right.
It's wonderful sharing and things that and people that and helping people learn.
You have to know who you take your advice from. Is it good advice? Is it for you? That's the biggest thing. If I could talk about why the rich are getting richer, one thing I'm very happy about is inside Why the Rich Are Getting Richer, I put Rich Dad TV, and there are 10 lessons. And so you'll see Tom in action, you'll see Kenny in action, and they're talking about what they know on television. So there are 10 lessons, and I got this from doing a TED Talk, and I said I should put TV in a book.
Mm-hmm.
So Kenny's on the book, and then so is Rod Smith. He was a captain of the called the Denver Broncos and all this, and we have a real estate agent who shifted from a sales agent to an investor.
We got to take a break here, Robert. We'll be back here in just a moment to hear more about Robert's new books.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Robert Kiyosaki back with us today. So, Robert, let's talk a little bit here in this last main segment about where things are headed, economy, and so forth. You certainly believe, as there's 6 economists that I follow very closely, and main reason is they have all, like you, called it right in the past. So those are folks I want to listen to. And all of them indicate that we're going to go for a recession to or depression, depending upon the degree of the person speaking. So if we have something coming up here in the next couple years or so, what should people do to defend themselves against that and or take advantage of it?
Well, first of all, the biggest thing is the definitions. If your neighbor loses his or her job, it's a recession. But if you lose your job, it's a depression.
Right. Yep.
And the other side of it is that it's going to be the best time ever, because I love the 2007, 2008 crash. I could see it coming. The difference was I had a plan for it. So as the markets come, I don't remember this, but I'm in apartment houses like you. But people were leaving to ninja loans. They could buy a $300,000 house, even though they had no money. If that wasn't an indicator that something was wrong, then you were sound asleep at the wheel.
But people's memories are awfully short, aren't they?
Yeah, and so I'm really excited about this crash that's coming, very simply because that's when you get rich. And so right now I'm just sitting in gold and silver, not because I've always had gold and silver, but the real problem is the dollar. Our dollar is being printed, and the chances are they're going to stop printing it. So that's going to send chaos throughout the world. And if you read Jim Rickards' book, The Road to Ruin, he says that's what the next thing will be. So what everybody's expecting is the governments to print more money when the crash comes. And what Rickards is saying in his book, The Road to Ruin, is they're going to stop printing. Now, the question for you is, if they stop printing, if he's right, I'm not saying he is, what would you do? And so those are kinds of the what-if questions I would be asking. So that's how I see it. It's going to be a great time. I just don't know exactly what's going to happen. Rickards calls it an Ice 9 from Vonnegut's movie or something. But anyway, it's kind of an interesting time. He says don't keep your money in banks is what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. But how do you think this is going to be as severe as their last one, or worse like Peter Schiff thinks, or not quite so bad? Or
Well, let me ask you, if the government stop printing money and they shut down the banks, what's going to happen?
That would be would be worse than before.
Yeah.
Then just being the least dirty shirt in the laundry is not good enough, right?
Yeah, but it's going to be the biggest opportunity. So my money is, your money should be, it's not in a bank right now. I mean, you should be up to the, $250,000 is the limit. I don't have savings anyway, but I don't have my money in banks.
I know your advisor, Andy Tanner's, told me that, Tom, the one problem I have with gold and silver, it doesn't produce income, which is, of course, one of your great teachings is only buy assets with that produce income, except when you want to preserve wealth or and have an insurance policy waiting for an opportunity, right?
Right. You see, the problem is, as we studied on the real estate guy's cruise, the dollar is backed by the petrodollars. It's not by gold anymore. It's petrodollar. And that's why President Trump went straight to Saudi Arabia to make amends, because Obama pissed them all off.
Yep.
So now you have at least the Middle East. They're joining forces to fight ISIS, and the first country they pick on is Qatar, because where did all those guys that Obama released from Guantanamo go? Mm-hmm. Went back to Qatar.
Sure.
And they promised President Obama that they would not be terrorists anymore. Are you kidding me? The other question is, where did the $150 billion come from that Obama paid Iran, the biggest exporter of terrorism in the world?
Yep.
And they want to get Trump for sending, covfefe or something? This is ridiculous. Look, if you don't think we're going to crash, just look at the news. It's ridiculous.
And you, as you shared with us there on the summit, that some pretty substantial background on why our dollar is really tied to the oil business.
Right. That was kind of an interesting article, wasn't
very
it,
interesting.
Tom?
Yep. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. And that's why I'm in oil. I went to school for oil. So I like oil. I have all this stuff. But the main reason I like oil, if I give the government $100,000, I get an $80,000 tax break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, that's financial education. It's not invest for the long term in a 401k or an IRA or buy ETFs. That's for losers.
And
if you're going to be, if you're middle class, that's fine. But if you want to be proactive, now is the time. Now you're going to know what's going to happen. What are you going to do when the sucker crashes?
What do you think the most important policies are that Trump could get passed or put through? What do you think?
I don't think about. He's a friend of mine. I don't think about him. I just think about what's going to happen on the fundamentals. And right now, the thing I know is that people don't generally get out of their houses when the markets crash. They keep paying for their house, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
so rental property is going to, in my opinion, is going to be better than ever, but not the high-end, Class A stuff. I invest in Class C rental property.
Stuff that'll pay for itself.
Working class property.
Yep.
That's what Kenny McElroy and I do.
Yep. Where the renters cover the PITI.
Well, it's more than that. Is that the renters don't have any place to go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, A's can move down to B and B move to C, but C's probably can't move anywhere else. They got to live somewhere.
Correct. And as you and I know, one of the most unpleasant things about our jobs is to evict people.
Yep.
And people fight like dogs to keep they'll pay that rent one way or the other.
Yeah, everybody needs some shelter.
I hate to say that, but that's why, if I could plug this, that's why I created the cash flow game and I asked people to support the mission of the Rich Dad Company. Is we got to have financial education because our school system's not going to teach.
Absolutely. We'll be back for a little wrap-up here with Robert Kiyosaki in just a moment on Real Estate Radio Power Investing here on KDOW 1220 AM, the Wall Street Business Network. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Great having Robert Kiyosaki back on program with us today. Robert, what other vehicles and tools do you have to help people get better financial education?
Well, Why the Rich Are Getting Richer is coming out pretty soon. But in there is, again, Rich Dad TV, which is like 10 TED Talks.
Mm-hmm. I love them.
And therefore, you guys out there who already are proactive, but you have sisters and brothers and brother-in-laws and friends who are not and who do not read. So Rich Dad TV is for your friends and family and workers who do not read, so they can watch Rich Dad TV. They're about 15 to 20 minutes long, 10 of them. And maybe they'll get proactive, hopefully. But they're not going to get proactive going to college. All they're going to do is get deeper in student loan debt. So Rich Dad TV is on Why the Rich Are Getting Richer. There's 10 TED Talks on there.
And how do they find it? How do they get to it? Is it on YouTube?
They have to get read Why the Rich Are Getting Richer.
No. I mean, how do they get access to the Rich Dad TV?
There's a code inside the book.
Oh, it's in the book. Okay.
Yeah, it's free. There's no charge for it. Mm-hmm. But the main thing was to empower you, the people listening, and the people who read my books, to be teachers to support the mission of the Rich Dad Company, which is to elevate the financial well-being of humanity. I ask you to join me in being teachers like Tom and I, rather than just being investors. It's time we all start teaching.
And indeed you do. Anything else? By the way, tell them about your website and all the other education information you have.
Well, there's richdad.com, and as you may or may not know, the real estate guys are putting together a program through Rich Dad's coaching for those who want to learn what the real estate guys know. I mean, as Tom and I know, they're pros. They really are the best of the best. They practice what they preach. High moral character. They're fantastic people.
Yep, indeed. And Robert continues to have a passion for educating and much broader than just how to buy a house or the nuts and bolts of that. He's done a wonderful job in spreading the word to a large audience on what you need to know about financial education And it's not in your books in college or high school. It's in books like Robert's published, and I can't wait to go check out this new TV series, Robert.
Thank you for that, because it's to help. It's not for you, Tom. It's for your friends, family, and your brother-in-law who's an idiot.
All right. I won't tell them why I'm recommending it.
We all have one of those, don't we?
We do. Robert, always a pleasure, and I still have great memories of celebrating your birthday and the 20th anniversary of your Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Thank you for all you've given to the investors and folks around the world. It's what a great gift you've given.
Well, same to you, Tom. And, again, if you guys are available, we'll see you on the Real Estate Guys Cruise. It's a fantastic event.
All right. We'll do that indeed. So go to TomWilsonProperties.com and you can see the podcast or hear the podcast here with Robert and Doug Duncan and Bob Helms and many other special guests and learn from them. And also sign up for our newsletter, which will also give you access to investment products in real estate. So this is Tom K. Wilson on Real Estate Radio Power Investing, KDOW 1220 AM, the Wall Street Business Network. Thanks for being with us. And remember, the only thing that matters is what you do next.